People often worry about spending too much time alone. Friends might ask if you're okay. Family might suggest you should get out more. Society often sends a quiet message that being alone for long periods must mean something is wrong. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe you're withdrawn. Maybe you're missing out on life. But what if that assumption isn't always true? What if spending a lot of time alone doesn't just shape your habits, but actually changes the way your mind develops? Psychology shows that solitude, especially when it becomes a regular part of life, can quietly build certain psychological traits that many people never develop. These traits often go unnoticed because they grow internally. They don't always appear on the surface, but over time, they influence how you think, how you relate to others, and how you navigate the world. So if you've spent long periods of your life alone, you might recognize these 4 hidden traits that solitude tends to create. Number 1. You develop deep self-awareness. When you spend a lot of time around people, your attention naturally focuses outward. Conversations, reactions, social expectations, all of these constantly pull your mind toward what's happening around you. But solitude shifts that focus inward. Research in psychology suggests that people who spend more time alone tend to engage in higher levels of self-reflection. Without constant external stimulation, the mind begins observing itself. You start noticing your own thoughts more clearly. You recognize emotional patterns. You begin to understand why certain situations affect you the way they do. For example, after a stressful moment or a disagreement with someone, many people quickly distract themselves with social activity or entertainment. But someone who spends time alone often sits with the experience longer. You replay the moment. You analyze your reactions. You ask questions like, "Why did that bother me?" Or, "What was I really feeling in that moment?" This kind of reflection gradually strengthens emotional intelligence. Over time, it becomes easier to recognize your own triggers, manage your reactions, and understand the emotional behavior of others. What some people see as overthinking is often actually a process of learning yourself on a deeper level, and that level of self-awareness becomes one of the most powerful tools for personal growth. Number 2, you build a rich inner world. When people are constantly surrounded by noise, conversation, and stimulation, their minds rarely have the space to wander freely. But solitude creates mental space, and in that space, the mind begins to explore. Research on creativity and cognitive processing shows that moments of quiet isolation allow the brain to connect ideas more freely. Without social pressure or distraction, the mind starts forming unexpected links between thoughts, memories, and observations. This is why many writers, artists, and thinkers throughout history have valued long periods of solitude. When you spend time alone, your mind often turns inward in creative ways. You imagine possibilities. You reflect on life experiences. You notice small details about people and situations that others might overlook. For example, you might sit quietly in a cafe, observing how people interact, noticing subtle facial expressions, body language, and emotional shifts. Or you might find yourself thinking deeply during a walk, suddenly connecting ideas that never seemed related before. To someone on the outside, it might look like you're simply sitting alone, but internally your mind is active, exploring, creating, building meaning. That rich inner landscape becomes a source of creativity, insight, and emotional depth. Number 3, you become highly selective about relationships. Spending long periods alone changes the way you view connection. When social interaction becomes less constant, you begin to notice the difference between interactions that energize you and interactions that drain you. Psychological research on social satisfaction suggests that people who are comfortable with solitude often prioritize quality over quantity in their relationships. Instead of needing a large circle of acquaintances, you start valuing a smaller number of meaningful connections. You want conversations that feel real. You want relationships that involve honesty and emotional depth. Surface-level interaction starts to feel less appealing. For example, you might decline invitations to events where the conversation feels forced or superficial. Not because you dislike people, but because you've learned that your energy matters. And when you do choose to spend time with someone, you want that time to matter. To others, this might look like distance, but in reality, it's clarity. You've learned that not every connection deserves equal space in your life. And because of that, the relationships you keep often become stronger, more loyal, and more meaningful. Number 4. You develop strong mental independence. One of the most subtle effects of spending time alone is that your thinking becomes less influenced by social pressure. When people are constantly surrounded by others, opinions and beliefs tend to blend together. It becomes easy to adopt the views of the group without even realizing it. but solitude gives your mind room to think for itself. Research on decision-making and social influence shows that individuals who are comfortable being alone are often less affected by groupthink. They pause before agreeing. They question ideas instead of automatically accepting them. They form their own conclusions. For example, if everyone around you is following a trend or believing a popular opinion, you may naturally step back and evaluate it. Does this actually make sense? Is this something I truly believe? Or am I just being influenced by the crowd? This kind of mental independence can sometimes make you feel different from others, but it also protects you from blindly following unhealthy patterns, toxic group dynamics, or expectations that don't align with your values. It allows your life decisions to come from within, and that kind of internal guidance is one of the most powerful forms of freedom a person can develop. So if you've spent long periods of your life alone, it's possible that solitude has quietly shaped you in ways others might not see. You may have developed deeper self-awareness, a richer inner world, greater selectivity in your relationships, and stronger independence in the way you think. These traits don't always stand out in loud social environments, but they shape the way you understand life, people, and yourself. The truth is, solitude doesn't always weaken a person. Sometimes it refines them. It sharpens their awareness. It deepens their thinking. It strengthens their sense of identity. And while the world often celebrates constant connection and activity, quiet minds are often the ones doing the deepest internal work. So if you've ever wondered whether spending too much time alone has changed you, the answer might be yes. But not always in the way people assume. Sometimes solitude doesn't take things away. Sometimes it builds something rare. And if this video helped you understand yourself in a new way, make sure to subscribe for more psychology insights that reveal the hidden patterns behind personality, behavior, and the human mind. Okay, my name is Helen. See you next time.